Hello, hello, this is Carissa and Tom on Tentacles, the podcast from Crown and Reach. We are feeling our way through the murky waters of strategy and operations in an uncertain world.
And we are doing it while on a slightly windy beach, aren't we, today?
With a slightly windy baby. She's just fallen asleep and hopefully we'll get about an hour. What do you reckon?
We'll see. Long enough to do this.
Do we have an hour's worth of stuff to say?
What, an hour's worth of waffle? Yes, I'm sure we can. No, it's going to be incisive, fast-paced, high value. That's the conversation today.
And just a little bit ragged. And I think we're going to attempt a workshop debrief between ourselves, thinking through where we're at with a client. Yeah,
so it's kind of one of those working sessions, but we've got a lot of thoughts along the way, haven't we?
Always.
So we're not going to name the client or give too many of the details, but it should be a familiar enough situation to many people that you'll be able to apply it, I think, in your situation.
I think so.
So imagine you have been developing a product or something like that, like a piece of software of some sort, and you've got to the point where, like, it was a good idea, you've got a good idea, it should work, and yet it's not quite working as well as you think it ought to work. Not working well enough, in fact, for your retention metrics and all of those sorts of things to be paying off for you. Mm-hmm. Sound familiar?
Certainly sounds familiar to me. I'm sure it sounds familiar to many.
Yeah.
It's almost too vague to be useful.
It is, but I suppose it's where most products start. It's really unlikely that you will nail it on the first go. And yet everybody wants to try to do that. Then at some point along that journey of, hang on, this isn't working, many people will get to the point where they think maybe we should try doing some user research. Not that many companies actually get there, but the ones who do are, I think, ahead of the pack. Something that I talked about with this client when I was debriefing after the workshop was that there are kind of two core strategies for product development, a bit like there are two core strategies for reproduction in nature. And I can't remember the name of the strategies. I think it's something like K versus L. But anyway, point is, you can either do like a lot of fish do or a lot of insects and just try to have as many offspring as possible with zero investment in any of them. So you just try and overwhelm by having as many as possible, and some will survive.
Yeah, like spiders.
Yeah, that's it.
Which I learned about in one of our favourite books, Children of Time, by Adrian Tchaikovsky.
Oh, that's so good.
Recommended time and time again, and we'll continue to do so.
And then, of course, there's the other strategy, which is you have a smaller number of offspring, but you really invest in them, more like humans and many other mammals.
Naming no names, a baby who will not be put down for even 20 seconds.
Without kicking off.
And we love her for it.
Yeah.
But my goodness, yes, it is an investment.
Exactly. But and I think there's a similar pattern you see with product development. You can either just spaff out quickly as many ideas as you can and really not invest in any of them, but try to have something pay off.
Right, and it's the old sort of fling a lot of stuff at the wall and see what sticks.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, it's not that it never works.
No, it's sort of playing the numbers game, isn't it?
I think it's hard, where it's difficult and where it is not such an effective strategy is that in order to throw enough different stuff at the wall to give it a fair shot of something sticking, companies just can't do that. They end up maybe having a few things and like basically they all need to work, right? It's something that people do but not well enough for it to be an effective strategy.
Yeah, to make it an effective strategy, actually you need to be incredibly disciplined. And the way I've seen it work effectively actually is people who start by doing the advertising. So you can do hundreds of different versions of advertising campaigns early on without building anything. And when you find an advert that is converting well enough to a service that doesn't exist yet, then you can start to build that service.
And people are often quite wary of doing that.
Yeah.
Because suddenly then they have to deliver something that they haven't made yet.
It's true, and there is the risk that you might not be able to figure it out, etc., etc. But I've definitely seen there's a handful of people who have made that work. Mm-hmm. The thing that puts people off, I think, is how long it takes. It can take you like a year of just testing advert ideas before you find something that works.
Oh, wow.
Which I think tells you how hard it is to find something that works. So that's one version. The other strategy is much more find an idea or start from somewhere, often a particular audience you want to serve, a particular idea that you have, and then invest in like shaping and learning and growing that idea until it works.
Right, so you start with something and then you just keep evolving it until you find something that sticks.
Yep.
Throw one thing at the wall and
evolve it.
And then change the shape of the thing that you're throwing until it's all gummy.
Covered in all sorts of weird bolted on bits.
This is like jumping maybe ahead a little bit, but coming back to the previous version of the thing that can work, which is doing lots and like hundreds of versions of an advert until you find something sticky.
Yeah.
Why does that take a year, whereas the approach that we advocate for, which we'll talk about in a minute, can kind of shortcut a lot of that time, and you can find something in the space of weeks?
It's a really good question. I think it's the nature of the exploration space and the feedback that you get. So the trick with both of the strategies, or the trick with finding success, we think, is that it's about shifting your orientation. So this is something I joked about years ago, and maybe we'll still do this idea, but product market fit, I think, isn't something you find, it's something you become. And that is when you change your orientation so that you are sufficiently aligned with the market opportunity, the market niche that you're trying to serve, and you've really deeply understood what it is that you are delivering.
Wow, existential. So it's not like the product is changing, you are changing.
Exactly. Because if you think about, like, imagine, to simplify it, you've got one person and they are coming up with all the advert ideas, or they're coming up with all the product ideas that they're going to work on loads. They are limited in the ideas that they can have by their life experiences. So to again make it extreme, if you imagine someone who is, what could we do? You say you're in one sort of circumstance, you've been in one context for ages, and now you're trying to jump into a whole new market. You're going to port over ideas that worked in your previous context, and all you're going to be able to think of are ideas that you can already think of. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly, and I think just to give a concrete example from a client that we have a public case study for, so we can give a concrete example to make it less abstract.
Yeah.
Because it's always too abstract.
It is.
So we work with Robert Walters, who were a very successful recruitment company, been doing it for 4 or 5 decades, long time, wanted to launch a consultancy arm of their business, but were very much stuck thinking about it from their context as a recruitment business, and that was limiting their thinking and their options.
Yes. Yeah, and it's natural that is the case.
Of course,
isn't it?
yeah. I mean, it's inevitable. You can't really not get stuck in that.
Yep, we get stuck in that all the time. Like, we've got the things that we have done, the things that we have seen. That's what we tend to see more of. It's what we tend to
exactly,
look for.
And that's why we are, in fact, in the near future going to be doing one of our own methods on ourselves to try and break out of that being stuck in a particular box type thing.
But that's getting ahead to how do you solve the problem of both of these extremes. But anyway, so you could imagine then somebody just coming up with ideas and testing them all. You could be lucky. So this is the thing with the masses of offspring technique. You could be lucky and one of your first 10 ideas could strike it big. But actually there's kind of a search rule where you should ignore the first 30 results, except you shouldn't jump on any of them. You should just take whatever the best success is there and then wait for the next thing that beats the best of the first 30. Do you know what I mean? It's like a mathematical technique for how do you optimize without waiting forever.
I remember you talking about this before in relation to if you have job applicants.
Yes.
If you've had hundreds of applications, don't
interview the first 20.
This is to be clear. This is not necessarily showing respect to the candidates.
No.
So not necessarily recommended.
No,
but
it's a mathematically
optimal
optimal thing. Yeah, you want to get your baseline set using the first 20 candidates, and then the next candidate that beats that baseline.
Go for them, and then don't waste any more of your own time. But lots of problems with that in terms of how you treat people. But as a mathematical illustration, I think it's okay.
Yeah, and if you're doing something with like advertising a bunch of services, now there's also a baseline performance level that you will accept, because there's generally the truth that must now be universally acknowledged is that the hardest thing you can do is, in terms of setting up a new product company, is try to sell to a market that isn't hungry. The most important thing is a starving market. And if you find people who are clicking on an advert at a very high rate because it's just connecting to something that they really care about and are really looking to buy, then you're going to have a way easier time the rest of the way.
Yeah, and I guess we should also be clear that there are, some companies that this won't work for, because the way that people buy whatever you're selling isn't clicking on an advert and then buying it, right?
Yeah.
So if you're selling expensive consultancy services, that's not going to even be possible for you.
That's right. Or if you're trying to sell to enterprise businesses, they're not buying from an advert like that. So you've got to match your marketing style to your market, haven't you?
We're jumping into lots and lots of different topics.
It's
here.
all over the place now.
This is just a kind of a window into our collective kind of headspace. What's on our plate at the moment?
Yeah, but fundamentally, if we go back to that just testing advert strategy, it is easy to just come up with more of those ideas and test all of the ideas that you can think of, and you're gradually going to expand the range of ideas that you're trying, but you're getting only very thin feedback from the market, aren't you? You're getting like a number of people clicking. Now, in the best cases, I think what you do is turn those people who click into conversations. So you're then starting to learn a bit more about the market. That's where it starts to become a virtuous cycle, because you learn why they clicked on that, why they might not have clicked on it, all sorts of ideas like that. And that's going to help to shape the ideas you can have next. But we think we can shortcut that a little bit using our method.
Which is in fact what we have done with said recent client.
Exactly.
And now to get back to the point of this conversation.
So to the point of the conversation, they were, I think, trying the other strategy, weren't they? The other, like, nurturing, looking after their child. They'd come up with a product idea. It wasn't performing as well as they wanted, but it kind of nearly was. It's the real danger zone for a lot of products, isn't it? Where it's just going to be hard work. And so they carried out some classic user research, usability testing sort of stuff, to try to figure out why isn't it working. And the feedback they got back will be, I think, familiar to anybody who has done this sort of thing. All of the testing they did, people basically said one of two things. One thing they said was, this doesn't seem differentiated enough. I don't know why I'd use this over name other versions of similar thing. And the second thing they got was feature ideas. So why don't you add this thing? Why don't you, I think it needs more of that. Often it's like, I think it needs more colours. Those sorts of things, or change the graphics, change the it's too much text. Those sorts of bits of feedback. How to fix it is what people were saying.
Yeah, this is a classic quote, which is, if people tell you something's not working for them, they're almost always right. If they tell you how to fix it, they're almost always wrong.
Yep, that's it. And so that's the guidance we gave this client. And what we fundamentally translated all of the feedback to was one thing, which is just, it's not working for me. It's not interesting to me. That's all they were really getting.
Yeah, which is, it's valuable to know that, but it's not instructive. Like, what do you do next other than have a crisis?
Yeah, and that's it. And it's kind of, you could call it the analyst trap, which is, if you are a very analyst flavoured person, you've probably been trained through schooling, through life experience, etc., to know that there is a right answer, and if you just do your homework and look in all the places, the right answer will show up. The problem with that is that's not how it works with products, and it's certainly not how it works to find something that is differentiated, that's novel, that's slightly novel.
You can't analyse your way to something new.
Yeah, and people can't. Your customers can't tell you what it is either. It's not their job to know. It's their job to react to what you share with them. It's not their job to tell you how to do your job. Now, you sometimes do get some really good ideas, but it's incredibly hard to tell from a customer which of these is genuinely a novel, good idea that's going to sell, and which of these is just more of the same. And if the fundamental problem you've got is that your idea is not differentiated enough, doesn't have a twist that makes it different from everybody else, and then you're using the ideas that your customers share with you for how to change it, well, all the ideas they're sharing with you are pretty much what they've seen in other apps. So if you add those features, you are by definition not going to be differentiated because you're doing the same thing that everyone else is doing.
Right, so this was the pickle that they were in.
Yeah. And I think it's a really familiar pickle, isn't it? So what we like to do instead with our unique method, the positioning strategy sprint, previously known as Pitch Provocations, is to instead get the team, get the whole team, the CEO, everybody down, data from multiple potential futures all at the same time. And so what we get them to do is to come up with a bunch of ideas from their adjacent possible. What are all the things we're thinking of doing at the moment?
Yeah, and so this is something that was, I guess, an interesting quirk of this particular client, is they'd actually made a lot of progress trying to come up with, different new ideas that might be the thing that breaks them out of the rut that they were stuck in.
Yeah, they'd already knew they needed like a winning edge, didn't they? That was the way they termed it.
And I think this is an interesting point about what is the common ground that is like the thing that means that we can use this method on different companies. Their starting point is often different.
Yeah.
But I'm talking about it. I can't remember what we concluded the other day. What is the common ground that they have?
Well, I think the common ground that everybody has is from wherever you are right now, you have multiple potential things that you could do. And you've got, the only thing that's common is you're not quite satisfied with where you are.
Not satisfied with where you are. And people
it's not obvious what to do next.
Right, and people have... lots of people have lots of smart ideas about what to do next, but people can't necessarily agree. You're kind of locked in a bit of a friendly stalemate, shall we say?
I like that, friendly stalemate. Yeah, and they come up with like a list of 50 different ideas which they could potentially do, but they didn't have the resources to invest in all of those ideas.
Exactly, and so we've also done the exact same method on clients who have no ideas as a starting point.
Yeah.
All they know is that they're stuck with the product or service that they've got, and they don't know where to take it next. So yeah, I think it's always when we talk about work with people that we know or at events or whatever, there's always the question. So what industry what industry do you work with, or what sort of organisations do you work with? And the answer is never quite as simple as, oh well, it's the aeronautical industry,
or
whatever. There is this kind of common theme.
Yes, I believe it's
kind of
called horizontal positioning.
Horizontal positioning. Right.
Rather than vertical positioning is in a particular industry, isn't it?
But it's not, again, like horizontal positioning can often be easier to explain.
It can, yeah.
It's like that. It's a particular product that an organisation uses, right? Like
can often be that, yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah, we need help figuring out Salesforce.
Exactly.
In our organisation, it's easier to be searched for, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a thing that you can search for.
Yeah. Whereas I don't think many people are typing into Google, we're doing everything right according to the books, but it's still not quite working. What should we do?
Yeah. We'll keep plugging away at finding a more pithy way of putting it, because Lord knows for us it is an existential question.
Yeah, which is why we're doing the method on ourselves, isn't
Yes,
it?
exactly.
And in fact, if you're listening to this and you know someone who works as a marketing leader, like marketing director, VP of marketing, CMO, that kind of person, then we really, really want to speak with more of them right now. Mm-hmm. So if you could just drop us a line at tentacles@crownandreach.com, then we would be absolutely delighted and grateful.
to be hooked up. Yes, please.
Yep. It's a very pleasant thing for them as well. We're not going to be selling to them or anything like that. It's just learning with this method.
Yes.
And often people find that the process here, the people who are participants, find it quite pleasant and enjoyable.
Pleasant, enjoyable, cathartic to a degree.
Yeah, like a therapy session sometimes.
Yeah, it's a chance to kind of, to sort of step back and look at your own situation and kind of take a fresh perspective on it. Anyway.
So, taking a fresh perspective. That's what we helped this client to do, I think. So
coming back to where we were, so they'd actually made quite a lot of progress with trying to come up with potential different new ideas, but they were still stuck with where do they go next.
Yep. So long story short, we did like a first workshop with them where we helped them to push the ideas that they already had a little bit further, to make them a bit more extreme, a little bit more provocative, and also to winnow those ideas down so we'd have a good range of different directions that they could go in, but not too many that it would be overwhelming to test them all at the same time.
Yeah, and making them all sufficiently different from one another.
Yep, that's it.
And also, maybe you just said this, I may have zoned out for a second, but we're on the beach, there's so much happening here.
Yeah, people setting up tents all around us.
I'm looking for ideas for how to make your beach palace even more exciting. We have a shade tent, which is very nice, and a thermos full of coffee.
I couldn't be better.
But yeah, so
all the different ideas.
Sometimes they're just a bit too sensible. Like, you have to push it to the point where the client feels slightly uncomfortable about testing it.
Yep.
And you're looking to generate quite a strong reaction from the research participants, right? You really want to push them to actually say something meaningful about what it is that they take from that idea.
Yep.
And how they may or may not engage with it, right?
Yeah. So part of the workshop process is digging a little bit under the surface. Why did they come up with that idea? What's the assumption or intuition that's hiding behind that? And then if we take just that intuition and push it to its extreme, what would you then make instead?
That's a nice way of summing it up. Yeah.
Yeah. So we've noticed that if you try to get people to just enumerate their assumptions in a deductive way, just sort of think through it and logically decide what they are, they tend to miss out some important assumptions. But if you can work from materials that people are naturally making, the ideas that they're coming up with, and then you do like an archaeological excavation of what might be underneath it, you get to a more interesting set of assumptions.
Right, and it kind of ties back to what we're saying about how you can't analyse your way to something genuinely novel. You can't kind of map your assumptions and then lead to something novel. Like, there has to be something a bit like weird and illogical and unpredictable about that leap that you make, but
yes,
it's still anchored to something that makes sense for that company and where they're at with their kind of current thinking. And
that's it. So yeah, a lot of what we do then is lean on more of like an intuition that they have collectively as a group, rather than trying to logically.
That's it. Yeah, you're looking for the intuition to use as the foundation for the new stuff.
Yeah. And this is based on realising that it's all about intuition all the way down, actually. A lot of the logical arguments are a post hoc rationalisation. You make the leap and then you justify it with the logical argument, because that's how you operate in a business. But that doesn't mean you can logically move your way into the idea that's going to work. So yeah, that's workshop one. So we did that and we got a bunch of interesting ideas to test, and then we recruited. So there's two ways of doing it. One is you get the client to put you in touch with people that they already know from their target market who are friendly. That works really well because you're working with your adjacent possible in terms of the market as well. But we can also help with recruiting the right people. So we did that in this case. Found people who were within their target audience and just around it as well. Also,
just to go back a step, just for a moment.
Yeah.
Is it possible to give an example or two of those ideas and how we pushed them in a way that made them suitable for this next step?
I think not without giving too much away.
Not without giving too much away.
Yeah.
Oh.
But I think are there other examples we could share? I don't know if there are.
I think this is
actually.
really what it all hinges on, is getting these provocations right.
Yes. And
not right, like not right as in you're trying to get the right answer
Yeah.
for these provocations, but pushing them in the right direction
so
to
they
make them
become
useful.
effective.
Yeah.
And that's the place where we've got, I think there's an interesting question. I think it's a place where there is an inherent sort of level of experience and skill development that we had to build over years of just trying making a bunch of provocations and getting them wrong most of the time. I think there's like an intuition that we're bringing to it, which is like, what is ambiguous enough and provocative enough, interesting enough.
Okay, to give an anonymised example from this recent project.
Yeah.
One of the ideas had like a kind of a communication element baked into it, but it was kind of somewhat hidden.
Oh yeah.
And so the way that you helped them tweak this idea to make it more provocative was to actually make it front and centre. So it was less about the product and more about this communication element that was like interrupting the person.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so one of the tricks we use, I think, is to take the idea and then say, like, what if we made it actually bad? What if we made it deliberately annoying?
Yeah.
So it gets in the way.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so it was like open as a window on top of the thing that you wanted to do
Exactly.
with the product.
Yeah.
Getting in the way. Which makes it, more provocative. You're then going to get responses to that. Which is what you're looking for. So that was all good.
So participants from target market for the research.
Yep.
Was the next step.
That was it. And then once we've then we go and we do all of the sessions. And again, this is something where there's a particular set of like research skills, conversation skills, understanding how to do this sort of thing.
Nunchuck skills. Computer hacking skills. Any other Napoleon Dynamite fans out there?
One of the greatest movies.
Can't wait for the kids to be old enough to really enjoy that film. I will happily watch it 100 times.
Yeah.
Anything other than Cars.
Oh God, please.
Actually, the original Cars is okay, but Cars 2 and 3 can get in the seat.
Oh yeah. Anyway. Still, all of those better than Hoppers, I would say. The recent one, that was bad.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, we do those research sessions. Then the thing that's kind of cool, this is now, we've found somewhere where we can use AI and it actually works in terms of LLMs. And that is, we take the transcripts from each of these calls and we clean them up a little bit. And this is something that I used to do by hand, like type out all the transcripts on the call. It's very like mentally draining and tiring. And then edit them a little bit but not too much, and that also takes hours and hours.
Yeah.
With an LLM you can do it really quite quickly and like tidy it up a bit so that where people are super rambly and hard to understand, you clean it up a little bit but you don't lose all of their tone of voice, you don't lose their nice turns of phrase.
Exactly, and you're not changing the meaning of what they said. That's an absolute no-no.
So we're not doing any interpretation for the client.
Exactly,
That's
we're not
really important
filtering
part.
any of the content at all.
Yep.
Everything they say it needs to be represented, basically.
Even if we think, oh, they're not a very good customer, we absolutely put them in because that's part of the process as well. So that's really good. What we do then is each of the people we test with, they have seen all of the between 6 and 8 different provocations, and they've reacted to them. Every session, I just use a random.org sequence randomizer to set them up in a different random order, so you don't get trapped in sequence effects, that sort of thing.
Nice.
And so they respond to all of the different ideas, and then the final thing we get them to do is to sort the ideas on a couple of axes, which are, so it's like a 2x2, which is deliberately subjective. It's deliberately, often we'll do something like the up and down is, I really like this, I would want more of this, or I would want less of it, up and down. And then the x-axis might be, I could share this with colleagues or I couldn't share this with colleagues. So something like that. And so they're then doing a comparison of all of the ideas on that 2x2, and you get a kind of fingerprint for how they felt about the range of ideas.
Mm-hmm.
In order to prepare for the final workshop, it's fairly labour intensive, but it's really worth doing. We then do like a pivot table, don't we? So you take then, instead of it's a participant and how they responded to all the ideas, we take one idea and we put where all of the different participants mapped that idea and put their face on the grid where they put it, and then we copy paste all of their reactions to just that idea onto the board as well. So then you get, for this idea, here is how everybody reacted to it all on one board, and here's how they mapped it all on one board.
Mm-hmm.
And you do that across all the ideas. For the final workshop, it's a lot to read through, so we divide the bigger group up into small teams, and we give each team 3 ideas that they're going to focus on, which works quite well. That's enough that they can triangulate and see patterns across different ideas, but not so much that they're completely overwhelmed in what is a fairly high effort workshop in the first place. But it deliberately pushes them to just get stuck in and read as much of what the participants said as possible. And there was a really nice thing that the CEO said, which I thought, yes, you've nailed it, which is they spend almost all of their life trapped in their own heads in the way that they think, their sort of product-oriented thinking style. And for this workshop, they get to live inside someone else's head. By reading this stream of consciousness from each of these different participants, it's like they're seeing the product through their participants' eyes.
What was it he said? It's like having someone else's thinking running through your own brain.
That's it, yeah. That was it. That was the way he said it.
Yeah, and I think it's something that makes the workshop, it can feel like a bit uncomfortable, but in a good way for the participants. So this is now not the research participants, this is the people in the workshop from the client organisation. So sitting in silence, being forced to read reams of text, basically. Yeah. And we give people plenty of time.
We do, yeah. And it's funny because it sounds like a nightmare. And I think it sounds like, oh my God, who would ever want to do that? But every time we do it, people love it.
Yeah, it feels uncomfortable to begin with because you sort of like, oh my God, I've got loads and loads of text to read and it's going to be boring and I'd rather be doing something else. You know, many, many reasons why people don't want to do it. But then once you start reading it, it is addictive. Yeah. Because it is like seeing into someone else's head. And you do see how people have wildly kind of different ways of thinking about things, ways of thinking about your product or service or your industry. It is kind of like, I don't know, popcorn-tastic.
Yeah. For I think there's nothing like it for sort of density of insight. You're just they're coming thick and fast, the ideas. So we get people to highlight the bits that they really like and add notes for bits that they think that they've had ideas about or they've noticed something that's a pattern.
Yeah, exactly. It reminds me of one of the quotes that I think is in our Robert Walters case study, which was that the top stakeholder who was in this second workshop said, "This changes everything." Yeah, that was a good moment, wasn't it?
Yes.
We don't always get a quote that good, but that was a nice one.
You've got to take it when you get it. So there was an innovation that we did for this final workshop that we haven't done before, but that we'll definitely do again. So if we think back to all of the participants who were responding to the provocations, they put the ideas on these couple of axes. So at the beginning of the final workshop with the team, the product team, we give them the same set of axes and all of the all of the provocations that they had shared. And we got each of the teams who are going to be reviewing the data, we got them to place where they think the participants would have put these ideas on those axes. So kind of pre-registering their instincts for how people would have responded to these ideas, which is basically their intuition for whether these are good or bad ideas, how people feel about them. That was cool.
That was a good way of getting people who hadn't necessarily been that involved in the process up to the workshop to actually really engage with the where things were at and think about the ideas actively. Rather than just letting them wash over them. That's it.
And then there's a thing we'll do in our next workshop, I think, when we do this again, which is take the set of participants that were involved. We do a little section where they meet all of the participants, But what we could do is get them then to do a sorting on a scale of these are our ideal customers to these aren't our customers, and just put people where they think they'd go on that scale before we jump in. So it's getting people to engage with who are these people, what were the ideas, how do we think they're going to respond to them, before you jump in and have their thoughts running through your own head. And then at the end of the workshop, I got people to then do a remapping of where the ideas go on the axes. And so then, by comparing the before and after, you can actually then see visually the impact that reading the data had on their thinking.
So you can see where people started off thinking about the ideas, and then at the end of the workshop where their thinking shifted and what they now think of the ideas.
Yeah.
As a result of going through that process.
Exactly, which otherwise is very hard to determine or identify. It's very easy we don't want to rub this in anyone's face, because the idea that you've changed your mind is sometimes uncomfortable, but it is a way of gently demonstrating, hey, look, this shifted how you're thinking as an organisation. And then the overall point of it is that by exploring the adjacent possible, and exploring the range of ideas that you're thinking in different directions, you're not doing an A/B test. You're not trying to pick which of these ideas is the right idea. Instead, it's much more about exploring the space that you're thinking about and noticing where there are gaps or combinations which are surprising.
Right, so like a sort of a general direction to move in will emerge from this.
Yes, it tends to, yeah.
Or it'll lead to the evolution of a new idea, like you said, as a combination of elements from the existing things that were the provocations, but something that actually people can rally around and have much more confidence in, because they've been exposed to the thinking of people out in the real world.
Exactly. And it's a little bit like you've now actually built those 6 to 8 ideas and had them in the market and had some responses, and so you've pushed your adjacent possible out by one layer, and you're able to jump just beyond that. Now you've got those ideas out of your system. Now you can jump to something that is actually different from what other people in the market are already doing.
Exactly. And something that I don't know if we mentioned this earlier in the conversation, but we definitely should mention it and be clear about it, is that you are not building anything high fidelity for these provocations. It's the most lo-fi, ideally just a bit of text on a page. Depending on what it is that you're testing, you might have to have some visual elements. Our clients did need to have, like you said, there was colours and whatnot, all sorts of things that were visually inescapable. So it really depends on what your starting point is, but for other clients it really is just a word document with a paragraph of text on, and that is the pitch provocation. Do not go and build anything. No, that's going to be part of the joy of this. Part of why it works is that you're able to test the ideas in a way that's very cheap and throwaway. You've not got anything that you're going to be holding on to later, because it's that quick and easy. You've got to feel happy to throw it away. Yeah. And so really what we're doing here is taking the principles of how you work in complexity, which are multiple parallel safe to fail probes. That's one thing. So that's what we're doing for these clients. We're getting you to do multiple parallel safe to fail probes. It's cheap if it goes wrong, and it doesn't. You learn a lot, even if you didn't get any of your ideas right, as in they wouldn't be what you build. We've done this so many times. We've never had it where one of the ideas was actually, that's bang on sorted. It always turns out that all of the ideas you're thinking about, none of them are actually going to work in the market. But by testing all of these ideas, you get them out of your system and you find something that does have much more potential, that has legs. Right, and it's never like just one person's pet idea. Like it kind of comes out as a very collaboratively achieved idea. Yeah. So it sidesteps a lot of the political difficulty with these things. Because it dissolves a lot of the debates that people have got stuck on. Because you've got stuck on, is it my idea or your idea? Because there's like a false dichotomy, isn't there? We have to do it either that way or that way. Somebody's right, somebody's wrong. Yeah. Somebody wins, somebody loses. And what
tends to happen is, without directly calling it out, without directly pointing at any of that or making anyone lose face, that debate just melts away and everybody realises, oh, that actually didn't matter at all, and there's this third way we can go, which means we don't have to worry about it.
Yeah.
And that's quite cool.
I've got a question that's bubbled up for me, which is a slight change of topic, and it relates to what we've talked about previously in terms of uncertainty bubbles.
Yep.
How much of an uncertainty bubble is this sort of a process?
It's a really good question, because I think it is an uncertainty bubble, in that what we're doing is creating this temporary space where the normal rules of how organisational decision making are suspended, and we're getting people to operate in a way that's radically different, with radically different rules. But it's also temporary. We're not expecting people to do this forever. We're not asking people to develop new skills, really. We're just bringing you into a situation where you have a different experience of consuming data and making sense of it.
Right, and where certain sort of behaviours would be culturally taboo in the organisation, but they're actually part of the deal. It's a good thing.
Yeah.
To have those behaviours. What about the integration part after the uncertainty? So in it, we'll link to we've done a podcast episode about uncertainty bubbles, or at least we've done a newsletter, email about it. We will link to whatever we've got for that, for anyone who wants to hear more about uncertainty bubbles. But I know the reintegration part is quite big.
Yeah.
So
really
how are
important.
we going to reintegrate this, like closure of the uncertainty bubble with this client?
Yeah. So part of the reintegration starts in that final workshop, where we take everybody's had this experience of having different people's thoughts running through their heads. Now we're going to do a sort of consolidation where they fill out a template or create one more idea based on everything they've learned. And so you're getting a little taste of what the adjacent possible is. The real magic tends to happen in the days after the workshop, where they've had a chance to metabolize it, to process it a little bit. And the idea will pop up in the shower, something new that they couldn't have thought of before, but now it seems obvious. And that's exciting. The other reintegration happens because we'll do a debrief with the bosses, the head honchos, and various people who are important. We'll do little debrief sessions and get a sense of what it is that they've taken away. Then we wrap all of that up. We take what they've learned and just put it down in a report for them. And we'll also do our own analysis and say, hey, here's some other stuff, that this is what we noticed. Mm-hmm. But we try not to do too much of that.
No, exactly. It should be...
it's basically here's what you learned.
Here's what you learned, for the record.
Because you need something to take away, don't you?
That's right.
And then we'll do a presentation of that as well, back to their team who, if there were people who weren't there, it's not as good, but we can do a little presentation so they understand why it is that their colleagues have started having different ideas. Change their tune suddenly.
And speaking of closure, our little Bubba is very much wide awake now and requires dandling and full attention. So should we call it a day?
I think we should. Is there anything else that we want to tack on finally? I think something that's exciting, noticing about this, doing it this way, this was... Again, it was slightly different than we've done with other projects, and we weren't 100% sure if it would work the same way. But to go right back to the start, this client was struggling with that classic usability research problem where they're telling you it's wrong, but no one is going to tell you how to fix it. And by stepping out a layer of adjacent possible and testing these different ideas, I can see that we've helped them pinpoint exactly where their product was going wrong and exactly how to resolve it, or at least the shape of what the solution looks like. It's not the answer. They're going to have to figure that out and use their creativity, but they'll now not be just casting out in all sorts of different directions. They'll be able to focus on the thing that's the most important unlock next.
Yeah, I agree. And I think it's Hopefully that's useful. While trying to be vague enough to keep it anonymous, it's maybe not so useful. But yes, I think it did. It really like localised where they needed to focus on the novelty, like where that needed to be, like where that missing piece was, which wasn't obvious before, and now is quite obvious. Yeah,
and we've seen that be tricky in lots of different companies, haven't we? Where everyone knows it's not quite working, but everyone has a different opinion about why it's not working and what the most important fix is. With this method, I think we can help you to zero in on what the most important fix actually is.
Mm-hmm. And on that bombshell, it's not really a bombshell. And on that nice gentle conclusion.
Yes, soft landing.
Till next time.
Bye-bye.